In this video we will describe the generation of major scales that use sharps. The formula of the sequence of tones and semitones for major scales, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, allows us to create any major scale, and we could do so in the order of the notes of the C chromatic scale. However, in the video corresponding to the study of diatonic semitones and chromatic semitones, it was seen that this leads to the disordered appearance of alterations for sharps and flats. Therefore, we will use a method in which these alterations appear in an orderly manner, alterations of the same type and one at a time until completing the 7 possible alterations. In this video we will deal with major scales that use sharps, and in the next theory video we will deal with major scales that use flats. The result obtained in this video will be the following. The scales will be obtained first on the staff, and then on the table with the names of their notes shown to the left. The first option has the advantage that it is conducive to the description of the concepts involved, and the second option has the advantage that, once these concepts are assimilated, the table can be elaborated quickly and easily, without resorting to work on staves. In either of these two cases, pay attention to the following. The tonic of each new scale is a fifth interval from the tonic of the previous scale, and its 7th degree introduces a new sharp. Next, we will give the introductory details of the method to be used. On the right side of the screen, we have repeated the information corresponding to the major key of C. 2 very important definitions have been added for the development of the method, that of the lower quadriad, made up of the notes of the 1st to 4th degrees of the major scale, and that of the upper quadriad, made up of the notes of the 5th to 8th degrees of this scale. These concepts are so important that it is suggested that you also intone the interval formula of the major scales in the alternative form, tone, tone, semitone. Tone, 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 semitone, which highlights the quadriad symmetric nature of these scales. Observe an extremely important detail: the 4 notes of the upper quadriad of the major scale of C, G, A, B and C also constitute the 4 notes of the lower quadriad of the major scale of G. Therefore, this must be the next scale to generate. All that remains is to add its upper quadriad, made up of the notes D, E, F sharp and G. Note that this quadriad can be obtained from the quadriad of notes on the 2nd through 5th degrees of the C major scale, but since the sequence of intervals for these notes is tone, semitone, tone, it is necessary to raise the F note of the 4th degree by 1 semitone to obtain the proper sequence, tone, tone, semitone. Let's repeat this process on the table. Incorporation of the lower quadriad of the G major scale. Incorporation of the upper quadriad of the G major scale. Let's continue the process by taking the G major scale as the basis to create the D major scale. The upper quadriad of the G major scale is also the lower quadriad of the D major scale. Note that we have incorporated it 1 octave down. The upper quadriad of the D major scale is made up of the notes A, B, C sharp and D. It can be obtained from the quadriad of notes on the 2nd to 5th degrees of the G major scale, but since the sequence of intervals for these notes is tone, semitone, tone, it is necessary to raise the C note of the 4th degree 1 semitone to obtain the proper sequence, tone, tone, semitone. Let's repeat this process on the table. Incorporation of the lower quadriad of the D major scale. Incorporation of the upper quadriad of the D major scale. Let's continue the process by taking the D major scale as the basis for creating the A major scale. The upper quadriad of the D major scale also constitutes the lower quadriad of the A major scale. The upper quadriad of the A major scale is made up of the notes E, F sharp, G sharp and A. Let's repeat this process on the table. Incorporation of the lower quadriad of the A major scale. Incorporation of the upper quadriad of the A major scale. Let's continue the process by taking the A major scale as the basis for creating the E major scale. The upper quadriad of the A major scale also constitutes the lower quadriad of the E major scale. The upper quadriad of the E major scale is made up of the notes B, C sharp, D sharp, and E. Let's repeat this process on the table. Incorporation of the lower quadriad of the E major scale. Incorporation of the upper quadriad of the E major scale. Let's continue the process by taking the E major scale as a basis to create the B major scale. The upper quadriad of the E major scale also constitutes the lower quadriad of the B major scale. The upper quadriad of the B major scale is constituted by the notes F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and B. Let's repeat this process on the table. Incorporation of the lower quadriad of the B major scale. Incorporation of the upper quadriad of the B major scale. Let's continue the process by taking the B major scale as the basis for creating the F sharp major scale. The upper quadriad of the B major scale also constitutes the lower quadriad of the F sharp major scale. The upper quadriad of the F sharp major scale is made up of the notes C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, and F sharp. Let's repeat this process on the table. Incorporation of the lower quadriad of the F sharp major scale. Incorporation of the upper quadriad of the F sharp major scale. Let's continue the process by taking the F sharp major scale as the basis for creating the C sharp major scale. The upper quadriad of the F sharp major scale also constitutes the lower quadriad of the C sharp major scale. The upper quadriad of the C sharp major scale consists of the notes G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, and C sharp. Let's repeat this process on the table. Incorporation of the lower quadriad of the C sharp major scale. Incorporation of the upper quadriad of the C sharp major scale. For reasons of space, we have been erasing the scales on the staff as we progressed in their generation. However, there is a summary in terms of their notes in the table located on the left, which was possible because this table has a compact format, one of its advantages. Let's use the information contained in it to show, on the right, the list of staffs for the C major scale and all the major scales that use sharps. To consolidate the concepts, it is convenient that you practice this process of generating major scales with sharps. To help you in this practice, this process has been summarized below the table containing the notes for these scales. Note the appearance of a new sharp on the 7th degree of each new scale. Having concluded the process of generating major scales with sharps, the importance of the concepts of lower quadriad and upper quadriad in major scales becomes clear. The reflection that the C major scale began the process described is also valid, and that in this sense it could be considered the mother of the 7 scales with sharps. One more reason why this scale occupies an outstanding place in music theory. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you find it useful.